the entire web, it was constructed by naive simpletons who honestly had no idea people like me were out there or even imagined us coming along in the first place. They had no vision for hackers or malicious hackers or criminal hackers or any of that stuff. They didn't see that coming. It was and so the insecurity is basically baked into TCP infrastructure. I mean, the entire system is set up so that if one route gets blocked or there's a problem, it'll find a different way around, through a different route to get through to networks. But you've never even bothered to consider the insecurity that's baked into that. I mean, we as people can engineer, our own routes through the system to get our traffic through if we know what we're doing, and force it through despite the efforts of any system admin to filter it. It becomes, if you know what you're doing, you can force the connection in such a way that they really can't. If their infrastructure is publicly facing, at least like something like Reddit, they might have a policy in place, moderators, and a whole team set up to enforce it, and they may even have a team that's set to deal with the incidents and everything. Like, what is the classical term for that? I forget. The response team. I forget the name for it. The damn it, the one that was at DEF CON. The who was the ones that did the fucking security for the damn thing? For the for the DEF CON conference. The name of the fucking center. It's been a while. Oh god, I can't believe it. This term has been off at the top of my head for a long time. SOC, the Securities Operations Center, or protectively monitors or defends against and responds to cyber threats within an organization. So IT infrastructure. So even if you have one of these in place, it really doesn't matter if there are people that are actively monitoring and protecting the infrastructure, because again, I mean, how do you recognize a threat is pretty well understood by the rest of us. I mean, you look for these telltale signs. You look for things like the IP address that it's coming from. For the most part, you check their cookies. You do checks against these systems to verify things together. I mean, Twitter seems to use phone numbers to tie you together, but you can always get yours changed or go out and get a new cell phone. You know, there are services that you can pay, to get a new one, together to just get and receive the text message and then basically dispose of, from Twitter. Facebook and its security is entirely, hinged on and dependent on ultimately, a super cookie that is used in such a way that, if a person is on 30-day lockout, it will send that cookie to them, and then, if you make a new account or you have a sock puppet, it will apply to all your sock puppets the moment you log into it. But if you would just erase that super cookie before logging, you close your browser down, erase the super cookie, then open it back up and log into Facebook. Well, you've just gotten, and beaten the system, and now your sock puppet is able to talk, despite the fact that, they would have correlated accounts together. And I mean, really, I've already reverse engineered my grocery store and figured out exactly how they were tying accounts together and doing the correlations on the basis of the payment method, via a process. So that I just knew that I needed to, if I wanted to have multiple accounts, to hack the ticket system, that the um, orange tag ticket system, and to circumvent the limits of the system, all that I needed to do is, make a withdrawal of cash and pay for my groceries in cash because then they couldn't tie the payment methods together. You know, the thing is that it really only requires poking the bear, enough times and a process of elimination to figure out exactly how they're tying accounts together. And once you know that bit of information, you can disguise the detail that it is that they're using to do it. It doesn't take much probing to figure that one out. Usually these systems, I get away with things all the time because I know this stuff. I know, basic, TCP infrastructure, the way that it works, the way that client server technology works, and all this, underlying theory stuff that I know more than enough about at this point. And I know enough about the way that the web, cobbled together from its origins. Oh God, these terms are like on the tip of my tongue. The origins of the internet. It's been such a ARPANET. Sorry, these terms are usually not on the top of my head. Sometimes they slip. But yeah, ARPANET. Like I know, and I know that the way TCP and all these networks were engineered together were engineered by people who had the naive assumption that nobody was going to hack it, nobody was going to come into the system with malicious intentions, and so insecurity has been baked into the modern web since the very beginning of its inception. You know, and it, like most of these holes that we're discussing are the kinds of holes that can't be patched, or I wouldn't be coming up here and bragging about it.